Can you hear me? Sai sabok, sok sabai? Yeah? Yeah? How are you? I'm fine, thank you. And you? Yeah? Is it okay? Or do we need to switch? We're good? We're good? Okay. So we shall begin. All right, so in my country where I grew up, we have this term called a midlife crisis. And for all of you who don't know what a midlife crisis is, I decided to look it up on Google. And apparently a midlife crisis is a time when a man loses his hair and wishes that he had hair, or a time when a man buys a motorcycle, an old man buys a motorcycle or a new car, or simply wishes that he was young again. And for some reason, when you look up midlife crisis on Google, you find a lot of pictures of Harrison Ford. And I'm not sure if it's because Harrison Ford wishes he was Indiana Jones again, or if it's because he's dating a younger actress, or because he also likes to drive motorcycles, but apparently Harrison Ford is going through a midlife crisis. Harrison Ford jokes aside, I found one definition of a midlife crisis that said a deep sadness for never finding meaning in life. Up years where our happiness is constantly increasing because we're learning what happiness is, our family's giving us all this love and attention and everything's great, and then it starts to plateau when we go to school, and you see a little peak around the age of 20 when we fall in love for the first time. And then it drops when our heart is broken. And then it starts to rise again when we go through university. And then we reach this long stretch of work until finally we can afford that nice car and drive off the edge into our midlife crisis. What I want to talk about today is this time right after university, this thing called a quarter-life crisis. And I think it's happening because when we are in university, we're with so many like-minded people with so much energy and passion, and we're spending all this time making new friends, and it's just a wonderful, magical 4 years where we really believe that when we graduate, we can change the world. But then we hit the real world, and it's a little bit different than what we expected, and we realize, oh my God, I have to pay back so much money to my school or to the bank or to my parents. And in general, work is just not what we thought it would be. And so we start to say, well, what am I doing with my life? And I find that a lot of people our age are also asking this question, what am I doing with my life? And it seems like we're not alone. At our midlife crisis, what is happening in this time here? What's going on? Why are we asking, what am I doing with my life for 20-odd years? And I blame it on advertising, or what I call evil advertising. And evil advertising starts when we're a baby, and we start getting all these billboards and posters and movies and TV commercials with all these beautiful, well-dressed people. All these people with perfect bodies in these worlds that don't really exist, where people are drinking really expensive water or eating sexy hamburgers or even partying like a rock star 24 hours a day. And it seems that if we want to go to these parties, then of course we have to drive the nicest car or own the nicest house. And the problem is that we start thinking that, oh, I have to make a lot of money so that I can have the nice car and the nice clothes and the nice house, and we believe that if we have all these things, we'll be happy. Now, the problem is, if we lose the things, what happens if we lose those things that we think make us happy? Or if we think that by being beautiful, we'll be happy, but eventually we all end up getting old. I think this model of happiness is broken. I think this idea that money and beauty can equal success is broken. This idea that money and beauty can equal happiness is broken. And that's what this talk is about today, that we need to change our model of success and happiness. Now, there's 3 ways that we can do it. And the first way everyone can do right now, I want you to take your hands, and I want you to go like this. I think that you're doing a Charlie's Angels gun, which it kind of does look like. But this is not a Charlie's Angels gun. This is called a dongchim. A dongchim comes from Korea, and it literally means, ready for it? Poop needle. So how does a poop needle work? Let me show you. So a poop needle, usually it happens to teachers in Korea, and a student will run up and dongchim the teacher in the anal region. Just like that. Bam! Dongchim. All right? So what's amazing about a dongchim... What's amazing about dongchim is that it can happen to anyone. You can dongchim a businessman if you want. Bam! Yeah. You can dongchim Harrison Ford. Anyone can get dongchim. Anytime, anywhere. It's such a violent action, and it really makes you wake up. And if we want to end this quarter-life crisis, and we don't want to have a midlife crisis, we have to wake up. You have to dongchim yourself today. And that's the first rule, is that you really have to change. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. The second point starts with this question of what do you do? It's normally the question that we ask someone when we meet them for the first time. And when you think about this question, it really means what do you do to make money, right? And that makes sense. For so many years, making money was about survival, and it was about making money to support your family. And this is a great thing. The problem is when we stop thinking so much about our family and we're spending too much time in work and we forget about our family and we just care about making lots and lots of money. And in developed countries, this is happening far too much. It's just all about making more and more money so we can have these things. And what I'm going to challenge us today is stop thinking about what do you do to make money and being the ultimate sign of success and happiness, and start thinking, what do you do to make meaning? For many years, I worked as an ad man, promoting some of this evil advertising that I'm talking about what fashions we should be wearing, or what shoes we should wear, or what drinks to make us feel high class, or drinks to make us feel happy, or drinks to even be cool. Many of my friends said that I had a dream job. I was an expat, or I am an expat working in a developing country. I was getting an expat salary, and all I did was think of ideas all day. It was quite easy. And so one day when my boss said, "Mike, how would you feel about being our youngest creative director?" I actually quit. And I quit because I felt really guilty. I knew that by selling Coca-Cola, we can say we're making people happy all we want, but we're really making people fat and have diabetes. And when you tell people to smoke, they get addicted. So they might smoke when they become pregnant or even when they're a child. And it started to make me question, what am I doing with my life? And it was a really difficult time because I grew up just knowing advertising, just knowing this world and not really knowing what to do. And then I started to ask myself, well, what if advertising could be used for good causes? And I found other people who were asking this question too. What if advertising didn't have to be evil? What if it could be used for good causes? And so we left these swank offices and we started working in provinces and working with village leaders and governments and nonprofit organizations to see what challenges they were facing. For example, 70% of Cambodians do not have a toilet. 70% do not have a toilet, and it's making them really sick. And so we started working with the government of Cambodia to make a clear, simple strategy to make it easier for people to buy their first toilet. We stopped selling cigarettes and getting mothers to smoke cigarettes when they perhaps may be pregnant, and we started to inspire them to wash their hands before they fed their baby. We stopped making people drink Coca-Cola, brown sugar water, essentially, and start buying water filters, and so that their family could have clean water to drink. And that's the second point, that we should start to work to make more meaning than to make just money. And I'm not alone in this. Scott Harrison, he used to be a club promoter. He promoted some of the largest clubs in New York. And he asked himself, what would the opposite of my life look like? And so he went to countries, some much poorer than Cambodia, and started raising money to build wells for people who didn't have clean drinking water. And so instead of getting celebrities to come to his clubs, he got celebrities to donate to charity. This is Jordan McRae. He worked for one of the largest defense companies in the world, and he quit to start his own business, a company that took high technology and made it into renewable energy that could be used in Hong Kong, but also could be used in developing countries for very, very cheap. So here he is in Haiti, working with students, teaching them how to make a wind power device that costs less than a few dollars, and it could give them light, regular light, for the first time in their lives. But you don't have to quit your job to make meaning in your work. It doesn't have to be that extreme. This is Dan Meyer. He was a math teacher, and he thought about it, and he's like, I know that math is boring. And I know students are asking, why do I need to learn this? And it just wasn't really applying to students. And so he started to make it more concrete. He started to make it more of a fun challenge. And he essentially threw away the whole curriculum. And he constantly asked himself, how can I make my students love math? How can I make my students love math? And he not only made his students love math, but he made them lifelong problem solvers. So work to make meaning, make meaning, make meaning. And for the third point, I want to tell you a quick story about Adele. She was my boss for a short time and one of my greatest mentors. I was working on a documentary at the time, and when I finished it, we were having lunch. And she sat down across from me, and she said, Mike, I want you to go be crazy. I was like, what does that mean? And she says, I want you to quit. I want you to go be crazy while you can before your housing payments, before your car payments and your girlfriend payments take over your life. She said, look at me, I have a Porsche, I have a mansion, I have all these things, and all I wish is that someone told me to go be crazy when I was your age. And so I did. And I moved to Thailand, which I thought was just going to be a short 5 months, but it ended up being an experience that changed my life. And I actually brought my parents, they're right there on the end, I brought them to visit the school last year. And one of the students, a girl named Pan, she gave my mom this note. And we were having dinner, and my mom passed it to me. She said, hey, one of your students gave me this. I'm going to read it very quickly. It says, Dear Teacher Mike, I'm very happy that you came back to our school again. I wanted to say that you made me love English and want to go abroad. And now I can do it. I will go to Germany next year, and I'm very excited. I want you to know my success, because you are one of my spirit. Thank you for the good memory. And it made me realize that there's so many things that we impact people and we don't even realize that we do. It made me think about Adele, and if she wouldn't have told me to go be crazy, I would have never met Pan, and Pan never would have gone to Germany. So indirectly, Adele impacted Pan's life. And then it made me think about all the people that Pan will meet in Germany and the lives that she'll change there. And it made me think even further back to my parents, who made the decision to adopt, which many parents do not do, and I think it's one of the greatest gifts that you can give someone. I wouldn't even be standing here today if it weren't for them. And it made me really realize that you don't have to be Martin Luther King. You don't have to be Mother Teresa. You don't need to be a superhero to change people's lives. All you need to do is invest in people. So not necessarily investing in the nicest clothes, or not necessarily investing in $4 bottles of water, but investing in other people. So whether it's going to volunteer abroad, or it's going to teach someone in your own community, or investing in your community and making it more beautiful, or spending more time with your brother and sister, or simply telling your parents you love them, you can change lives every day. You create meaning every day. And which one's the live camera here? Is it this one? This guy? Okay. We don't get that many chances to say these type of things, so I want to say to my mom and dad, they're actually watching on the other side of the world in Michigan right now, and it's way past my mom's bedtime, so I want to say thank you so much for raising me and making me who I am. Thank you. I love you. So I want to share one last story in closing. It happened right after I was teaching in Thailand, and I went to India to volunteer for a short time. And this is the street that we lived on. A lot of people didn't have electricity or running water. And I took many photos of some of the people that we were working with and some of the friends that we made along the time. And I took this photo, which I didn't really think of much at the time. And it's about this man right here. He actually invited us to this party for his daughters. You can see his 4 daughters here. And it was a coming-of-age ceremony where the daughter gets her ear pierced. And the village chief told me this is one of the poorest men in the village. And he started to explain that usually the families will take one daughter, they'll have a party for each daughter. But because he was so poor, he had it for all 4 of his daughters at one time. I didn't think much of it. And before we left the volunteer position, we actually went to the city and we printed out all the photos to give to the director of the NGO to pass out to people and to pass out to some of our friends. And this father happened to be in the office when we were there. And so I took out the photo and I gave it to him. And he took it and he immediately started crying. He ran around the office showing the photo to everyone and saying how happy he was to have a photo of that moment, that special moment in his life. It's amazing how much we take for granted in life. And I assume that all of us in this room have a camera or a phone that can take a picture. And I'm not saying this to make us feel guilty, but rather just to realize that you have a great opportunity, a wonderful opportunity. You have an opportunity to break past this quarter-life crisis, to break this ideal of happiness, to break away from it, and to start making more meaning with your work, not just making money. And also investing in others and letting them invest and invest and invest in more people. And I hope that if you do that, you'll start to find your own meaning in life. And I hope that when you do find it, it's filled with a new meaning of success, happiness, and plenty of dongchims. Thank you so much. I'll come down.